Hello, I'm today's presenter. As we learned from our professor, artworks have been a messenger or a time capsule wanting to say something to future generations like us. Today, I'm going to introduce you a very enchanting and fascinating story which was woven by Sandro Botticelli hundreds of years ago. The Birth of Venus, painted by Sandro Botticelli. What did he want to tell us through this work of art? At first glance, superficially, we might think his work is quite easy. Substantially, however, this artwork has lots of messages and meanings, making us, even eminent critics and historians, puzzled. Sandro Botticelli was an Italian painter of the early Renaissance. He was born in Florence in 1445. He belonged to the Florentine school under the patronage of Lorenzo de' Medici. He had his golden age in his first half of his life. Nevertheless, he died in 1510, miserably in obscurity. Since then, his posthumous reputation had been smeared until the late 19th century when his works were reinterpreted. And then Botticelli gained his glory again. The Birth of Venus is the subject of the artwork from classical mythology on a very large, overwhelming scale, which was unprecedented in Western art since classical antiquity. In the center, life-size goddess Venus stands on a seashell in the nude. Although the pose of Venus is classical in some aspects, take the position of the hands for example, it comes from the Venus pudica. Venus pudica, the prototype of classical Venus. Overall, we find some traces of Gothic style, standing off-center with a curved body of long flowing lines. Her whole body follows the curve of a Gothic ivory. Botticelli was not serious about naturalism or realism in comparison to his contemporary artists, whose works based on scientific revolutions like anatomy, perspective, and foreshortening techniques. As an outsider of the mainstream of that era, Botticelli expressed his Venus disproportionately, ignoring those mathematical and geometrical methods developed in Renaissance. Therefore, I guess the disproportion of the body could be his intention to make his work more mysterious and cryptic. Venus' body is anatomically improbable. Her neck and torso and left arm are quite long and positioned improperly for a human body, and her pose is impossible too. She stands in a classical contrapposto, the technique employed in classical works. Her weight is distributed too far to the left. So, theoretically, we should expect instability, but virtually we feel her very poised and relaxed, with the other figures supporting Venus with their positions and weights at the both sides of her. Take a closer look. Fluid, sinuous, dynamic, with strong elastic lines, show that Botticelli believed in strong lines. Tilted head, meditative, dreamy, and somewhat apathetic look on her face, calm and serene atmosphere of background, and flamboyant gold highlights in many parts of the artwork. We can see the coexistence of contradictory harmony and subtlety at first. Ultimately, however, we can find a kind of order in that chaos. The mixture of all those elements is creating ineffaceable images. His mythology-related artworks are famous though he painted Christianity-related at his early career, including frescoes in the Sistine Chapel and altarpieces. Then came his first conversion to the magic world of the antique myth. The reason why he changed his subjects of art is uncertain. Allegedly, he was inspired by following social factors. Marsilio Ficino. Ficino was a philosopher and founder of Neoplatonism, a humanistic philosophy which sought to fuse Plato's ideals with Christian thinking. He argued that creating completely something new lies in rediscovering of the ancient arts and integrating them with medieval arts. And scientific revolution. Copying from nature led not only to the heightened perception gained from meticulous observation, but also to an attempt to understand the principles that govern the order and processes of nature. Therefore, scientific and mathematical knowledge like geometrical arrangement, perspective foreshortening, and anatomy for the mechanism of muscle is required to be a great artist. Indeed, we find a great artist and scientist named Leonardo da Vinci. And the Medici. The Florence Medici family was so generous and supported the formulation of Neoplatonism and many artists like Botticelli. And humanism. Humanism is an impetus to unite ancient traditions and Christian theology and to transform to a paradigm of human-oriented from that of God-oriented. Artists did not care about the background but more focused on human itself. And correlations, variables of Renaissance with the birth of Venus. With all those social factors, the dominant philosophy in Florence during the later 15th century was Neoplatonism, and Botticelli's paintings can be explained in the light of this philosophical movement. In Platonism, Venus is incarnation of beauty, and beauty is equated with truth. Therefore, Venus is truth itself. When it comes to the birth of Venus, we never fail to mention about the Primavera. Although the two are not a pair, the comparison of the two icons of Italian Renaissance is unavoidable. While the Primavera has a lot more Gothic style with more vivid colors and elaborate expressions, the birth of Venus has more ancient Greek style in the nudity, which makes Botticelli's works very unique and discreet. A lot of things about Botticelli remain uncertain. He may have had eccentric artistic temperaments, but one thing clear is that his incredibly beautiful artworks make our monotonous lives vividly multicolored. Thank you.